The night before was anything but ordinary. It was the kind of night that starts out feeling like any other, quiet, unremarkable, the air heavy with the scent of summer lawns and the distant hum of a television through an open window. But beneath that calm, something was waiting to be disturbed. Something that would change the way we saw our neighborhood forever. My brother, a friend and I wandered unfamiliar streets, just kids chasing adventure. We were drawn by the thrill of the unknown, the way shadows stretched and shifted under the streetlights, making every corner feel like a secret waiting to be discovered. Our laughter echoed off the houses, bouncing into the darkness, daring it to answer back. My brother, always the joker, stopped in front of a house with its lights off and windows dark. With a grin, he announced, "This is where I live now," and pretended to fumble for imaginary keys. We all giggled, the kind of nervous laughter that comes when you know you're somewhere you shouldn't be, but you're too caught up in the moment to care. Suddenly, a man burst out, his rage immediate and terrifying. The door slammed open so hard it rattled the night, and his silhouette filled the doorway, wild and unpredictable. In an instant, the game was over, replaced by a fear that was sharp and real. He chased us, his footsteps pounding behind, his threats chillingly specific. The sound of his shoes on the pavement was like a drumbeat of panic, pushing us faster and faster. He shouted things I didn't fully understand, but the anger in his voice was unmistakable. It was the kind of fury that made your heart race and your legs move before your mind could catch up. He singled out my brother, promising retribution. His finger jabbed through the darkness, and for a moment it felt like the whole world had shrunk to just us and him, caught in the beam of his rage. My brother's bravado vanished, replaced by a look I'd never seen before, pure, unfiltered fear. This wasn't a simple "get off my lawn," this was something deeper, more personal, as if we'd trespassed not just on his property, but on some invisible boundary we didn't know existed. His words were sharp, each one landing like a slap, and I realized we'd crossed a line we couldn't uncross. His anger was wild, unhinged. It was the kind of rage that made you wonder what else he was capable of, what other shadows he might be hiding behind those dark windows. His face twisted in the streetlight, eyes wide and mouth open in a scream that seemed to echo long after we'd run. He pursued us far beyond his property, relentless. We sprinted down the street, hearts pounding, lungs burning, but he didn't stop at the edge of his yard. He kept coming, as if chasing us was the only thing that mattered. The neighborhood that once felt like a playground now felt like a maze with no way out. We escaped, but the fear clung to us. We huddled under a streetlight, gasping for breath, looking over our shoulders, half expecting to see him still coming. The adrenaline faded, but the terror didn't. It settled into our bones, a cold reminder that the world could turn dangerous in an instant. That night, every sound felt like his return. The creak of the house, the wind against the window, even the distant bark of a dog, all of it made me jump. I lay in bed, eyes wide open, convinced that at any moment he'd appear at the window, still furious, still searching for us. The memory of his face, twisted in fury, haunted me. I couldn't shake the image, the way his eyes burned with something I didn't understand, the way his voice cracked with rage. It was a face I'd never seen before, and one I hoped I'd never see again. How could a harmless joke provoke such hatred? I replayed the moment over and over, searching for the answer. Was it something we said, or just the fact that we were there? The more I thought about it, the more I realized how little I understood about the people who lived behind those closed doors. We'd awakened something dark, and now we were targets. The neighborhood felt different, as if the shadows themselves were watching us, waiting for us to slip up again. We whispered about it the next day, but none of us wanted to admit how scared we really were. The fear wasn't just about what happened, it was about what might come next. Every night after, I found myself peering out the window, searching the darkness for any sign of movement. The world outside felt less safe, less familiar, as if danger could be lurking anywhere. The man knew our faces, he'd seen us, really seen us, and that knowledge felt like a weight I couldn't shake. I wondered if he was out there, remembering us too, waiting for another chance to catch us off guard. And the night was far from over. Even as the sun rose and the world returned to normal, the shadow of that night lingered, a reminder that sometimes the scariest things are the ones that find you when you least expect them. We didn't go home. Even though our feet itched to retrace the familiar path back to our own front doors, something in the air told us it wasn't safe. The night felt heavier than usual, as if the darkness itself was watching us, waiting for us to make a move. So, instead of heading back to our own beds, we made a silent pact to stick together, to find shelter somewhere that felt less exposed. Instead, we hid at my grandmother's house on the hill, a place that once felt safe. The house stood apart from the others, perched above the rest of the neighborhood, its porch lights glowing like a beacon in the night. I always thought of it as a sanctuary, a place where nothing bad could reach us. But that night, even the warm glow of the porch lights seemed to flicker with uncertainty. The house, with its wraparound porch and big windows, now seemed fragile. The very features that once made it feel open and inviting now made it feel exposed, like we were living in a glass box. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind rattling the windows, made my heart race. I wondered if the house could really protect us from whatever was out there. My brother and our friend took the upstairs guest room. They tried to act brave, whispering jokes to each other in the dark, but I could hear the nervous edge in their voices. The room was filled with the scent of old quilts and lavender, but even those comforting smells couldn't chase away the tension. I got the downstairs couch, right in front of a huge picture window. It was the spot I usually fought for during sleepovers, but tonight, it felt like the worst place to be. The window stretched nearly from floor to ceiling, offering a perfect view of the yard. And, I realized, a perfect view in for anyone, or anything outside. From there, I could see the whole front yard and street. The familiar swing set, the mailbox at the end of the drive, the old oak tree, all of it looked different at night, transformed by the shadows. I pressed my face close to the glass, searching for movement, half hoping and half dreading that I'd see something. The glass felt more like a screen than a barrier. It was thin, almost insubstantial, and I couldn't shake the feeling that if someone wanted to get in, it wouldn't take much. I kept imagining hands pressed against the glass, faces peering in from the darkness. Streetlights cast long shadows, turning garden gnomes and trees into lurking figures. The wind made the branches sway, and every movement caught my eye. The gnomes, which always seemed so cheerful in the daylight, now looked like silent sentinels, watching us with blank, unblinking eyes. I felt exposed, vulnerable, like I was on display. Every time a car passed on the distant road, its headlights would sweep across the window, making me flinch and duck down, convinced for a moment that someone was coming for us. Every shadow seemed to move. The patterns on the curtains twisted and danced, and I found myself holding my breath, listening for footsteps or the sound of a door creaking open. My imagination ran wild, filling the silence with threats I couldn't see. The comfort of my grandmother's home was gone. The familiar furniture, the family photos on the walls, even the ticking of the old clock, all of it felt strange and distant, as if we were intruders in someone else's house. All that remained was a gnawing anxiety as I stared into the darkness, waiting for morning, hoping that the sun would bring back the safety we'd always taken for granted. The hours dragged by, exhaustion setting in, but sleep wouldn't come. The house creaked and sighed, the only sounds my heartbeat and the distant hum of the fridge. I drifted in and out of uneasy dreams, always chased, always afraid. Suddenly I woke, alert. The silence was different now, heavy, watchful. I lay still, every sense straining. The air felt charged, the shadows deeper. I scanned the room, heart pounding. Something was wrong. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. The quiet wasn't peaceful, it was expectant. I knew deep down I wasn't alone. My instincts screamed danger. Then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. The sound sliced through the gentle hush of the rain, so soft at first I almost thought I'd imagined it. But there it was again, insistent, echoing in the stillness of my room. The world outside was a blur of shadows and water, but inside, every sense sharpened, my heart thudding in my chest. The sound was deliberate, right at the window beside my head. It wasn't the random patter of rain or the creak of an old house. It was purposeful, as if someone wanted to make sure I heard it, as if they were calling out to me specifically. Not a branch, not the house settling, someone was tapping. The trees outside stood perfectly still, their branches unmoving in the heavy air. The house was silent, holding its breath along with me. I strained to listen, hoping for some innocent explanation, but deep down, I knew better. Each tap was patient, rhythmic, chilling. It was almost as if whoever was out there was playing a game, testing my nerves, waiting for me to react. The sound seemed to vibrate through the glass, through my bones, each tap a cold finger tracing down my spine. My blood ran cold, I froze, barely breathing. Tap, tap, tap. I felt the air thicken around me, my body refusing to move, my mind racing with possibilities. Was it a prank, a stranger, or something far worse? Every muscle tensed, waiting for the next sound, the next sign. The tapping stopped, but the fear didn't. The silence that followed was even more terrifying, as if the night itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what I would do. I listened, straining for any hint of movement, but all I could hear was the relentless pounding of my own heart. I stared at the window, too scared to move. My eyes searched the darkness for any sign of life, any flicker of movement beyond the glass. Every shadow seemed to shift, every reflection twisted into something sinister. I was trapped by my own fear, unable to look away. My mind conjured the man's face, his finger on the glass. I could almost see him, features blurred by rain and darkness, his eyes locked on mine through the thin barrier of the window. Was he real, or just a nightmare brought to life by the storm? Was he out there watching me? The thought sent a fresh wave of terror through me. I imagined him standing just beyond the reach of the light, hidden in the shadows, waiting for me to make a move. Every instinct screamed at me to hide, to run, but I was rooted to the spot. The silence pressed in, suffocating. It was as if the entire world had narrowed to this one moment, this one room, this one window. I could feel the weight of the darkness outside, pressing against the glass, threatening to spill inside. The tapping was a message. I know you're here. I found you. It was a warning, a promise, a threat all at once. The memory of that sound would haunt me long after the night was over, echoing in my mind whenever I closed my eyes. I was trapped, desperate to hide, desperate to know what waited outside. Every instinct told me to disappear, to make myself invisible, but curiosity and fear battled inside me. I wanted to know who, or what, was out there, but I was too afraid to find out. The terror was real, and the night felt endless. Time seemed to stretch, each second dragging on as I waited for something, anything, to happen. The storm outside raged on, but inside the true storm was the fear that gripped me. I waited, paralyzed, for what would come next. The unknown pressed in from all sides, and I realized that sometimes the scariest thing isn't what you see, it's what you imagine waiting for you in the darkness just beyond the glass. Minutes crawled by in silence. I couldn't stay hidden forever. Slowly, I lifted my head, peering over the edge of the couch. The porch outside was a void, shadows swallowing everything. I saw the porch railing, the rocking chair, the garden gnome, no sign of anyone. But the emptiness was worse. If someone had been there, where did they go? Were they pressed against the wall, just out of sight? I was alone with my fear, no one else awake. The secret was mine. I lowered my head, heart racing, the uncertainty was suffocating. I'd never felt so vulnerable. Dawn crept in and I needed answers. Maybe it was my brother, always the prankster. I confronted him and our friend. Both denied it, convincingly. Our friend would have noticed if my brother left the room. Next, I asked my grandmother. She hadn't been outside. No one in the house had left their rooms. My logical explanations crumbled. The tapping couldn't be explained away. I was left with the chilling possibility it was someone else. The fear from the night before returned, sharper than ever. No one inside the house could have done it. The mystery deepened. I was desperate for proof, but none came. I searched the porch for evidence, footprints, scuff marks, anything. The dew was undisturbed, the ground pristine, no sign anyone had been there. That was more frightening than finding proof. Had I imagined it? Was it a dream? But the tapping was too real, too vivid. I felt it in my bones. The fear was too intense to be a nightmare. Someone or something had been there, and vanished without a trace. All that remained was a lingering terror, and a mystery with no answer. Days passed, but the anxiety lingered. We never saw the man again and never spoke of the tapping. The questions haunted me. Who was it? What did they want? Why just tap? Why not break in? The psychological torment was worse than any attack. Was it a coincidence or something darker? Sometimes the world offers no explanation. The memory remains, a moment of pure, unexplainable fear. Not every shadow has a simple source. Sometimes something from the unknown just wants you to know it's there. That night taught me a lesson I carry everywhere. Always be aware of your surroundings. Trust your instincts, they're your first defense. When something feels wrong, it usually is. My body sensed danger before my mind did. Don't rationalize away your fear. Listen to your intuition. The world is full of shadows as well as light. Stay alert and trust that inner warning. Sometimes it's the only thing between you and the unknown.